Hey dads, if you're a young dad who's trying to protect your family and make sure that your money plan is actually solid, these are the exact questions to ask a financial advisor to see if you could actually trust him, see if there's any kind of hidden incentives, and also to uncover any blind spots that you or they might have about your situation. All of this before you actually commit to using them. So let's go through those questions. The very first thing you want to check in with them before anything else is what is their ideal client or what is your ideal client? Because it may be very possible that they are only focusing on people who are 65 years and older, and that is all they really know what to do. Whereas you, as a young dad, you're starting out a family and everything, it's going to be completely different odds and ends about what you're actually trying to accomplish when you're meeting together. And so you want to kind of figure out what is your ideal client or who are your ideal people that you're trying to work with. And then by figuring out that point, you'll be able to decide, does me and my family actually fit in what they have going on? Second question, are you a fiduciary? Now, for those of you who have not heard that term before, it is basically the person who is a fiduciary is legally and ethically bound to do the right thing for the other person. And so it's not just like, oh, yeah, let's sit down and see what money I could get off of you. No, they are legally and ethically bound by law that they have to do the right thing for you and your family. If they do not follow any of these parameters, it is very dangerous and you just kind of want to avoid that in general. So, with that being the second question, you could kind of just hightail it out of there. Third question is, how do you get paid? This is extremely important so you could actually understand the motivations behind them. Now, I know we just barely talked about the second question that you want to make sure that they're trustworthy, that they're going to do the right thing legally. But that being said, people can still be crooks. They can still do the wrong thing, even though it may be legally the right thing. So you want to understand, how are you getting paid? Is it based off of any kind of commission, or are you working for another company? Is it based entirely upon you taking a certain percentage off of my stuff? Are you doing any kind of fees? It's a lot of stuff to go over, and I could go into more details about that in other videos. So if you have more questions on any of these questions, just go ahead and go to the comments and ask such. But this is going to be very vital for you to understand why they are going to be motivated to recommend some things and not some other ways, especially if they are working with any other companies as well, or if it's just in-house kind of stuff. Fourth thing, this kind of aligns with things we've already talked about, but what licenses do you hold or any kind of qualifications? You want to make sure that you can be able to build up a lot of trust in the fact that they know that they have been able to help people that have already been in your kind of situation, and not that they're just run of the mill, oh, I could give general kind of knowledge. You want to make sure that they could actually do things that are customizable to you and that they could legally do these kind of things as well. Question number 5, how often are you planning to meet with me and discuss my plan? This is a really sad situation that I've seen that a lot of people get into, is that they'll sit down with somebody once and they'll go over a plan, and then they will go through, the money will get paid, and then they never talk to them ever again. This is actually a situation that I saw with some of my family members, is that they started working with somebody and they just never talked to them ever again. And so all this kind of information that they set up was well past over a decade old, and they just never got an update to what their life situation is. Did any of their plans or goals or any kind of dreams change at all, or even what their family situation was? And so you want to make sure that they are wanting to at least meet with you once a year. Any less than that, if it's only going to ever be 2 years or such like that, you really want to avoid these kind of people. Because if they're only going to meet with you that often, they're probably going to be really hard to get a hold of. And that's another thing as well, is you want to make sure that whatever thing that they have you set up with, you want to make sure that they walk with you the exact way to be able to access your own accounts, see your own information, and that you could actually access them at any time of day. Because that's another thing I've noticed a lot of people get messed up with, is that they'll be easy to talk to somebody for the first little bit just through the sales process, but then it's extremely difficult to get a hold of them ever again, and that they never check on you. So this is an extremely important part, is, am I going to be able to access you, and how often are you planning to meet with me? Number 6, how do you decide what products or plans you recommend to me? This is going to be extremely important because it's all going to be dependent on your goals and dreams. If their whole thing is like, okay, well, just give me your numbers and let's see what you have going on for assets and liabilities or stuff like that, and then like, oh, I would say do such and such thing, is total and utter bull crap. There was nothing in that whole scenario that actually discussed what your goals and dreams are. And so you want to make sure, just check in beforehand. Don't lead them down that direction, or else they're going to try to follow you that way and then try to just do what you think that they want you to do. But if you lead with the question of how do you decide what is best for these families, or what is your kind of process, then you can be able to figure out, do they actually care about me and my family? Or is this just another run of the mill kind of one size fits all kind of plan? Is it going to be specific and customizable to you? Question number 7, do you use these things that you're recommending to me? Because this is a mind-blowing thing that people don't actually do a lot, is that they'll say like, hey, you should do such and such thing, but their actions do not back up their words, because they're going to be doing something completely different over here. You want to make sure that like, hey, if you're recommending this thing to me, are you actually using it yourself, or have you done this for a type of family? And try to pull out some personal examples from them, like it'll give me a specific story if they don't even use it themselves. But that is another thing as well. If someone is not telling you the exact plan that they are planning to use, and if they're in a similar situation as you, or they have someone that's really close to them that's in a very similar situation, you kind of want to stay away from that. So make sure you're asking them directly, do you use this thing that you're recommending to me? Question number 8, what is your recommendations going to look like? Because oftentimes what I've seen people will do is they'll only present one and only plan, and they make it seem like if you don't accept this, we're never going to ever talk again. And that is really screwy of a lot of financial advisors. Oftentimes what I actually personally do for a lot of my people is I will present them with option A, option B, option C, with the mindset you could fully customize any part of this. And that is extremely important for you to be able to make sure that your financial advisors would actually do is what are the different kind of options, what are things we could play with, and what are the exact numbers. You want to be wary of anybody that is trying to tell you that there's like a one size fits all kind of thing. I know I've mentioned that already several times in this video, but it is extremely important, because there are some really big gurus here on YouTube that say these big things, and they have very popular opinions for some reason, but their information is only one size fits all and doesn't actually specific to your family. And so you want to make sure that they're actually asking you these questions, like what is important to you guys, and not just some general advice out there. I'm going to avoid saying specific names, but I think you could probably hint at what I'm trying to say. Question number 9, why are they a financial advisor? Like, out of anything they could have ever possibly chose to do with their lives, for example, I am a born and raised farm boy from Idaho, and I'm chosen now to actually be a financial planner and helping out people. Why the heck are they doing this? This is going to be able to show a lot into their personal lives about like what do they actually care about, and if this is just for the money kind of stuff. And so you want to be able to ask this question. It's going to give you a little bit of insight. Just for example, for me personally, when I first became a dad, I realized I didn't really not know anything about money, and I wanted to make sure that I could be able to take care of my family. And after I was able to do a whole bunch of things to take care of my wife and my kids, I need to actually understand, well, if I didn't know this stuff, and this is not taught in like public school or anywhere else, or even my parents didn't know about this, that means there's probably a lot of other dads out there who do not know this as well. And so that is why I was motivated to actually start doing what I'm doing now, which is why I'm here on YouTube. Question number 10, why have your past clients stopped working with you? Now, I know this question is a little bit more confrontational, but that's kind of a good thing. You want to see how they react underneath stress, but so that's an underlying factor. But you genuinely want to know, like, was there something that they did not like about working with you, or is there kind of just a bad experience with a stock or something like that, an investment? Or is there something else entirely different that it just wasn't a good match or anything like that? And so this will be able to help you not only be able to figure out kind of like the facts of the situation, but you also be able to judge how they react to that kind of stuff. So that's always really good to know. And that actually leads really well into my last final question that you'll have for them, which is, what happens if we stop working together? Because I know a lot of people, when there starts to be a little bit of antagonism between each other, that they'll just completely cut off contact, which is absolutely horrible. If you have a lot of money somewhere that you don't have access to, again, referring to earlier questions, make sure you have access to your stuff at all times. But if something goes wrong for whatever reason on their side or on your side, you want to make sure that everything is going to be A-okay, or that there's not any personal feelings involved at the very least. And so ask them like, hey, if something happens and things don't work out, What does that process look like for us to start working together? All of these questions are well and good, but you want to make sure at the end of the day that whoever you're meeting with is someone that actually cares about your goals and dreams, and that they will build a plan for you and your family to actually get there, which is why I am now going to volunteer myself for that position. If you like what I have here, or if you want to just ask a couple questions what it's like to work with me, go ahead and go to the link in the description, and you'll be able to go to another video of me saying, "Hi, dads," again. And on that video, I'm going to describe a little bit about the process of working with me one-on-one, where you can sign up for a free financial needs analysis, where we could just go over your goals and dreams and build you out a game plan. And then if you want to, we could just cut ties there, and you could say goodbye to me and just leave with the free value and never say anything to me ever again. That's an option, but I want to make sure also that I'm going to give you actionable steps in that, so that you're just not given information and have no idea what to do. Of course, if you just want to stick with the free value, I'm totally okay with that as well. If you go below the video, there's this really fancy button that says subscribe on it. Subscribe. Click on that and it'll get you to, you can see more of my stuff. There's also a really handy dandy button that looks like this. Pretty sure you know what that means. It means you like this kind of stuff. So click on that, and you could also see one of my latest videos over here. It's gonna be based on the YouTube algorithm for what is most likely recommended to you on my channel. So I'll see you in that video, and go.